Boston Bruins trade talks are heating up as a brand new name has emerged in the Bruins circuit of trades this summer, with Don Sweeney vocalizing what he wants to do, as well as a basic confirmation about Brad Marchand and what is likely the final update we will have from him regarding the Boston Bruins and a possible return. We're going to be breaking it all down here in this video, going over these reports because things are really starting to heat up in Boston Bruins land, and it's about time that we start to see some things get going. We're going to be breaking it all down here in this video. Very quickly, before we do jump into it, however, if you didn't already, hit the sub button. We're on the road to 7K. We got a lot of Bruins news coming for you guys, and we want to make sure you get it all first. We'll have it right here as it comes out, so be sure to do it if you don't want to miss any Bruins news. But let's get straight into this here. Starting off, I want to start off here with the Brad Marchand update. I feel like this is something that we've been talking about for a little while now, given the very sparse updates we have, and I feel like this is likely going to be the last time until we see 63 up in the rafters that we will have an update regarding the Boston Bruins. And honestly, I hope it isn't, but it sure does seem like it. Let's start off here with Don Sweeney. A bit of backstory, going over why he traded him, what he said, all the kind of stuff that we've been hearing, but we finally kind of have this confirmed as well. It was just a big gap. Deep down, we had been talking really from day 2 of free agency in terms of what the intentions were and where we were at, and we always had a bit of term gap. That took us a while and felt that we have been able to bridge that. And once again, kind of continuing on with that, saying, then we had to make a really difficult decision to trade him, and then, saying, let's give Brad Marchand another opportunity with a really good team. Then they can make a good decision as to what he thinks is best going forward. Now, this is a little bit of a backstory here that we had from Don Sweeney, but this is what we were seeing recently. General Manager Don Sweeney and new head coach Marco Sturm have made it clear, this was at the intro press conference and kind of the days after when a lot of questions were being asked, that the team is moving forward. Sturm said during his introductory press conference that the franchise must be led by a new group, adding these guys are not here anymore. Now, this is kind of the brutal truth here from Marco Sturm. I do think this is the right decision to make this move, because when we do look at Brad Marchand, he was someone that, although had, a very, very good season compared to the rest of the team of the Boston Bruins, and is a bit older side, they couldn't really get a contract underway, throughout the season. There was still time, but they knew that things had to change, and give him to the Florida Panthers for that first-round pick, and seeing how good he's been now, it sucks, but it's also kind of a relief at the same time. You sent him somewhere good where he's enjoying his time there, he's playing well. Sucks it had to be the Florida Panthers, but it is what it is at this point. And the fact that Marco Sturm really kind of confirmed this with Don Sweeney, it feels like this is the final chapter for Brad Marchand until we see 63 up in the rafters. But, when you do look at an AFP projection for his contract, I don't want to count it out for the Boston Bruins at 2 years, $5 million. Now, this is what their projection is. This is not what Brad Marchand wants. So, there's always going to be that gap, and I feel like this is something that the Bruins definitely would have given Marchand if the time had been right. But it doesn't seem like right now is going to be any time we see Brad Marchand returning, but I did want to just kind of pull it up along with the stats from this year with Florida and in the playoffs there on the right side. He's been playing phenomenal, not just throughout the regular season, but the playoffs with the Panthers as well. He's a very good fit there, but it will never be as good as a fit with the Boston Bruins. So let me know what you think real quick before we hop into this Mason Marchment news. Do you want to see Brad Marchand back to play any more games, or do you think that ship has sailed? Do you want to see him just come back for his jersey retirement, come back for, that day contract, retire as a Boston Bruin, and, kind of call it there? Let me know what you think about that, because I feel like there's still a lot of mixed opinions on that idea as we do go down to it. But let's jump into our next topic, Mason Marchment. He's been on the trade block by the Dallas Stars, and when we go here and take a look at the fourth period from David Pastrnak, he had this to say. The Stars, according to Pastrnak, are also taking calls on forward Mason Marchment, who has a $4.5 million cap hit. According to multiple sources, the Stars prefer to move Marchment over Jason Robertson, who is almost likely to be traded as well, and may also be dangling defenseman Matt Dumba. Marchment, who turns 30 on June 18th, has a 10-team no-trade list and will have some say in where he ends up, if, of course, moved. Now, Mason Marchment is a very interesting one, because obviously Jason Robertson is the much better player. You've got a guy like Matt Dumba, who's pretty solid on defense, could be used by the Boston Bruins, but Mason Marchment is someone that the Bruins should be keeping very close eyes on. And looking at the way that David Pastrnak described him here, the way that we've seen Mason Marchment play over the past few years with Dallas, he's a guy that fits the Bruins system down to a T. He is a physical forward, someone who does not mind laying the body. Even at 30 years old, his game is not one that is starting to slow down. I would argue his game is only starting to really pick up as of right now. And, when you go and take a look at the forwards here on the side of the Boston Bruins, there's one kind of glaring missing piece, and that is a kind of middle-aged forward who is a very physical player, but also can put up points. Now, you see how young this roster's gotten. We're now currently tied for 6th youngest in the NHL over their NHL roster, which goes to show how much they really offloaded. Missing guys like Trent Frederick, who was traded, Brad Marchand, who was traded, Brandon Carlo, who was traded. All 3 of those guys are those players that don't mind getting in the dirty areas of the ice, and now without those 3 players, you're really left with, I would argue, just Mark Kaslick and Fraser Minten once he develops into that player on the forward side of things. So while taking a look at Mason Marchment, he is the perfect fit for what the Bruins are missing. And in 62 games this year with the Dallas Stars, 22 goals, 25 assists, 47 points on second, third line minutes, really depending on what their system was showing that game. But going to be 30 in a few days. He is 6'5". He is a big forward. And although you have a guy like Justin Brazeau, who was that big forward, is still a big forward that you could plank in front of the net. He really did not use his physicality, didn't have that offense there that we would have liked to see, with the Boston Bruins organization. And the fact that Mason Marchment is available is a very good option to replace him on this roster. I think that this is a perfect fit for the Bruins. I want to know what you guys think as well, because when we jump back into that roster and take a look, there is that absence of necessarily size, which a lot of teams are looking for. And I feel like that's going to be a very big thing about Mason Marchment as well, is that teams are going to be looking to add that size. They're going to be looking to add what Mason Marchment brings, and that's just a big physical body, 6'5", 212, and in the final year of his deal at $4.5 million, it makes sense for the Dallas Stars to try and move him due to where their position really is and how they're trying to get a lot of cap space. They don't have very much, which leaves a bit of an opportunity for many teams, like the Boston Bruins, to make a trade for him. The Bruins have a lot of picks, and that's something I kind of want to throw out there as well. But $4.5 million, that's really a steal of a contract, something that they can easily take. Now, while the Dallas Stars only have just under $5 million total, they likely wouldn't be able to take on a heavy contract in return. So the Bruins may be able to throw out a prospect who, maybe some like Fabian Lysell, Georgi Merkulov, who really have been given just a slight opportunity with the Bruins, but things are winding down for that if we don't get them in there quick, and I think that's the reason Marco Sturm was brought in, yes. But Mason Marchment is the guy that I think really fits the scheme here for the Bruins, and really, really works out well for what we're looking at in terms of making sure that this roster can get better while also getting younger. So let me know what you think about Mason Marchment. I think he's a very interesting candidate, especially when you kind of, once again, take a look at the forwards here that we have, as well as the prospect forwards. I mean, there's not very many big forwards the Bruins have, so Mason Marchment, $4.5 million, going to be, 31 years old, coming on to next season. A new contract with the Boston Bruins could look very good for him. And of course, we don't have any projections just yet on his contract. That ship is not there yet. We got one more year. And of course, if the Bruins are on this trade list, not on the trade list, and being able to make a trade with the Dallas Stars, I think the Bruins should be all in on that. So let me know what you think about that in the comments below as well. You okay with a guy like Mason Marchment? I think he really fits the bill for a Bruins team right now. And let me know as well what you think about Brad Marchand. I feel like he is a replacement for Brad Marchand in a bigger player, kind of same play style, but it's a much different kind of scenario with that, of course. So let me know what you think in the comments below about all of this news that I have here today. But this is all I got in the video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. You guys have been crushing it as of late, and I very much do appreciate it. But that's all I got. I'm signing out. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.